Welcome to another season of 100 Proof. This is season 2. And of course, we're not just music, we're also fashion. So with that said, I am the real Charlemagne, and to my right, my man, Kev.
Yeah, your funny neighborhood, Kev
Friendly
Lawrence.
neighborhood, not like Spider-Man, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
See what it is.
I like Spider-Man.
And on the show today, my man, John. John, explain to them who you are, what you do, real quick, a nice little synopsis of everything that you do.
So MrJohnWright, heavy into fashion, art too. I started off as an artist.
What kind of artist?
I grew up in the 90s. I'm an 80s baby, but I was always infatuated with the graffiti culture in New York City, coming from uptown, all the big graffiti crews up there. I always wrote a little solo though. I wrote up sketch by myself, climbing trains and climbing bridges and just getting my little fame.
Like Remo.
Kind of like
That's
Remo.
real. That's real crazy though.
But I never got Remo.
Remo!
Do the Harlem Shake for real, for real.
Never got Remo, but yeah, like Remo, I was always like into that, and I was always like obsessed with art and my colors and the bright colors. And then going into fashion, I always wanted to inject that into the clothing, because like in the 80s, how they had the loud, colorful painted jackets and painted pants, I always thought that was amazing. And then after a while, like in the 2000s, everything got kind of plain and prim and clean. So I wanted to just throw the colors back onto the clothing. So about 5-6 years ago, you know, I started shopping my stuff around stores, and everywhere is like, oh, this is too much, this is too colorful, this is too loud, no one's gonna get it. But I kept doing it because for me, it's my passion. It's what I love to do, and I didn't really care what the big businesses were doing. I was just doing it for me.
Absolutely.
So, you know, now I look around, and I have a store now. I look around, and everything is this way now again. It's like, so I almost feel like I was part of the reason to bring that back.
Bring that wave back.
Yeah, because it's important, man. You have to express yourself. I see the world as a canvas, and you know, I want to like show that in every medium. Why can't we be walking canvases? Why can't we, you know, like how that whole wave and the vibe from the 80s and the 90s, like that should be here. You know, and that's very important to me. I want to walk around and, you know, show who I am, MrJohnWright, my colors, like how I feel. And I feel like everyone should express themselves that way. It's like in music, same thing, you know. And that's my mission. I'm gonna keep going at it, keep painting on clothes, on canvas.
What was the first thing you painted?
First thing I painted.
Then you knew that, and then someone said, that's talent. Or did you believe in yourself? You get what I'm saying? Like, what the first thing you painted and you're like, I'm good at this.
The epiphany painting.
Yeah.
I was super young. Like in school, there was a project we were supposed to like paint like what makes us happy family. I don't know, and I don't even know why, but I painted like a fish head with fish bones. Okay. Like even as a kid, I painted like weird stuff. Yeah, I painted it like a skeleton fish swimming through like a weird land.
Okay.
And the teacher was like, "That's a little off topic, but
I would think so too. Though. I would, you know.
But they were like, they told my
fish
parents.
Head on land.
It was weird. Water. It was floating through like a weird ocean hell scene. It was like a dream, and that's how it was.
Trippy dream.
And essentially that's really what I do. I just paint my dreams, and I just paint like, you know, like I see the world in color. I see the world in like, you know, shapes. You know, I don't see it for what it is. I see underneath the surface, and that's why I paint, and that's why I design.
That's an excellent way to look at the world. You know what I mean? Very expressive.
No, that's how we should all do it. Anything that you do, if you're a writer or a musician or an artist, you gotta dig beneath the surface. And everything now is so commercial, is like everything is so surface level. I think it's important for, you know, people who are doing music and art and writing, just go underneath the surface and you know, dig up those things that people don't really see and show the world. And you know, that's where inspiration comes from, and that's how we'll heal and change each other. Yeah.
What inspires you? You know what I mean? Like, is there an artist that inspired you, or you inspire yourself?
I mean, there's a lot of artists that inspire me, but I would say I definitely inspire myself. But I take a lot of inspiration from like Basquiat, and then even some of the greats like Dali, and then you know, a lot of the graffiti from back in the day. And
who's your favorite graffiti writer? Did you have a favorite?
Myself. I used to write sketch.
Okay.
But no, I looked up to a lot of the older cats, and it was more so like the people who would do like image. I loved images.
Right.
You know, I like the wild style stuff, but like when people do
I
images.
used to
of
love the
whales-
characters, like, you know, that it'd be like elongated heads and all
Yeah,
kinds
and
of
the
different-
whales
and the
and all
long,
that.
the long
Yeah.
sneaker. You know what I'm talking about when they used to draw the b-boys and stuff like
No,
that.
no, I love that. I miss that era. I mean, I came up a little bit like younger than that era, but I
Right.
missed like where all they're doing all the training, because by the time I was writing, you know, they had all the guards and the dogs in the train
Yeah.
yards, so we can't really do
Yeah.
that anymore.
Where you
But
from?
So I'm from uptown Manhattan, Harlem. I
Okay.
lived in Harlem a lot. I lived in the Upper West Side a lot. So like I moved around all over, but
So if you was
I
there,
claim Manhattan.
big shout out to the people over there on 106 and Park, not the TV show.
no, the
Once in the
Hall
park.
of
There's
Fame.
actually a
the
real
Hall
place.
of Fame right there.
The
Yeah,
Hall of
that's
Fame.
the Hall of Fame. Yeah.
Ralph, me being also a video music box, Ralph James, we was there and we were always doing the Hall of Fame of all the graph runners. And it's crazy how with a lot of graffiti people, some of them actually still walk in with a mask.
Yeah.
So you can't see them.
Yeah.
Men and women
Yeah.
are there, and it's like
It's like a
they
secret
take it
identity.
really serious.
They're like superheroes. We used to see the older cats like literally like superheroes. Like the artist, the graffiti artist.
Lobo.
Yeah, now you hide your identity by day. Like by day, you're who you are, and then by night, you know, you're your alter ego. And
I was always a
beautiful.
superhero fan. I always loved that.
Yeah, and
That's why I hide behind these hater blockers all the time.
And we would see a lot of people come from overseas just to be there to watch that, and then they will take that and take that back to where they're from. And I know that there was it's not recent, but for a while, there's been a big situation with Banksy,
Banksy, yeah,
where people feel like Banksy actually took from the other gentleman and made it seem like that was his artwork, and then he blew up, and then next time he's on Netflix and everything, and everybody thinks he's the art man. And he is creative, but they think that he's the arts man, but the real person is a guy that's masked up or covered.
Yeah, I mean, that's what
and
he-
you can't really speak to him, but
yeah.
the underground of art people will know what it is.
They know what it
The
is.
commercial
yeah.
people don't. So
They know
how
what
do
it
you get yourself to let people know that you're doing this instead of like somebody else? It's a question I want
Well,
for you.
I mean, for me, it's really, it's my clothing, and you know, I do a lot of art shows, and I do a lot of like I do a lot of shows that have to do with. I got a few coming up actually, December 25th, and I'm doing something with Contra Gallery coming up in January. But so for me, what I do is like when I have my shows, like I'll have models wearing the art, and then I'll have my art pieces over here. So I show how those two go hand in hand, and you know, just take it from there, and just keep like doing interviews, keep like, you know, posting and showing what I do. And sometimes I do street art. I go like in front of my store. Sometimes on Sunday, 151 Orchard. It's called Oscon.
In Manhattan, New York.
Yeah, in Manhattan, New York. You know, I do live art shows. Like I go in the public. I love going in the public and just like painting in the
Right.
street. I don't really do so much the street art anymore, although that is a good way, like that like uncut art and like people like Banksy and Mr. Brainwash, they blow up through like the street art. It's big, and it's always been a good way to get yourself out there by just doing stuff in the street.